the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Person who's been in the business for 60 years. We're talking about Britam Whole Life Plan. And here, they're able to help you protect that legacy for generations to come. Your loved ones will receive immediate tax-free financial support. Again, tax-free financial support that will help you in improving on that legacy that you want to leave behind. Remember, we've talked about you being able to leap a pole over a certain period of up to 20 years, right?
Yep.
And we're talking about 5 million all the way to 100 million shillings that you leave for your loved ones on the day that you are not here. Remember, we're also talking about 3% interest rate for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
For the rest of, imagine finishing paying at 35 and God keeps you here until you're 90. Imagine the kind of legacy, the kind of financial support and security that you've left for your loved ones. So with 6 decades of expertise, Britam remains trusted partner in legacy planning. So start planning today because you're talking about 60 years. What else do you need?
You don't need anything else.
What else do you need?
They get it. They understand the game. And so they've been doing this for the longest time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all you need to do is SMS live and your town to
21778.
21778.
Got it.
Exactly. Or you send an SMS or WhatsApp or call 0705 100 100 because Britam Life, it is not about if, it is when.
Kabisa, fantastic. And those are the things that we're talking about this morning and also kind of securing things. So let's talk this morning. Lessons from Utumishi Academy. And those are the conversations that we're having this morning. Of course, just giving more of a background to that. And in terms of what happened last week is that when we woke up to the news that a school had part of the dormitory essentially had burned and that 16 girls already had been pronounced dead by the end of that day. As of yesterday, that number has risen to 19 because some of the girls who were in hospital receiving medical attention succumbed to their injuries and also passed away. There have been videos of what would be footage that has come from the school and that it's been reported on that things didn't look as they must. But we're talking about lessons from that, even as some of those cases go into court today. But we'll talk the length and breadth of this conversation today with Anthony Moshiri, who is the Kenya Manager, Disaster Response and Preparedness with the Kenya Red Cross and joins us in the hot seat this morning. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Nashukuru.
Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. We're talking about some heavy stuff today, but before we do that, we usually welcome everybody with a proverb from a different African country. Dennis will tell you where he is this week.
Yes, this week we are in Ghana. And in Ghana, when you want to go there, things that you will enjoy is the fact that they have cocoa, but they don't have chocolates. So chocolates maybe you'd have to import. But they equally have gold. So if you as well love golden stuff, that's where you go. But important thing that stands out is the legacy and history that Kwame Nkrumah left with the country. Ghana becomes the first country in the continent to obtain independence. And with that, then that spread to other African countries because Nkrumah said, if we have gotten independence, it will not make sense if the other African countries are not independent. But let's go to the proverb. The lizard that jumped from the high Iroko tree said he would praise himself if no one did. The lizard that jumped from the high Iroko tree said he would praise himself if no one did. How would you interpret it?
You will always start with self. It's good to acknowledge and praise self, but more important, just acknowledge what your capabilities are.
Yeah. Yep. Well said, well interpreted.
Sure. So, we're looking at lessons that can be learned and things that make up policy and standard practice when we're dealing with certain areas. And of course, in this case, probably whittled it down to boarding schools. From what you saw, a lot of people have seen this, from what you saw from the tragedy that happened at Utumishi Academy last week, and then the released CCTV footage, allegedly, of that area. And we use that because we're yet to hear confirmed reports that this CCTV footage is that's directly linked to the school. But for all intents and purposes, it's been reported widely, so we use that as a point of reference. Now, from what you see, because I'm sure you've seen it, what should not have been in that space?
Thank you. Again and again, first of all, is just to share our condolences with the family. And as Kenya Red Cross, we've been with the families, both parents, children, relatives, through and through, providing psychosocial support. When it comes to matters safety and observation of the space, what should not have been is a locked out space, just that. In terms of other safety protocols, if you like, be it the windows opening on the outside, doors opening on the outside, and again, the alleged CCTV with the room and the space where guns were running through, most, if not on a standard, the safety features of a particular facility were in place.
Okay.
There was also a ladder which not many are privy to on the other side, which is a spiral ladder coming down, and this was also in place. So yes.
So when you say the door should not have been locked, so it was established that the door was locked from the outside, but this may not have been something that was happening all the time. It's likely to have happened when those who are alleged to have set the fire locked the door when they left. But are we talking about a safety precaution where, because we know that in a lot of schools today that the door to where girls or boys are sleeping is usually locked from the outside?
Well, fact is that a door was locked. Without going into the cracks of who did this, it did take a bit of time for part of the rescuers to get in, trying to break this particular door and get in or get the people out. So that happened. Of course, took a bit of time to manage it in terms of even the ability to break it open. And sadly, we lost lives.
Yeah.
Yep. We look at the incident, the accident rather, and how it happened. And one asks the question then, when we talk about safety, safety goes beyond the brick and mortar. Personally, how I look at it, it goes on the mental space where individuals are at. It goes to the training where individuals are taught, in case of fire, this is what you do, this is the spiral case, this is how you access the door, and all those things. Who are the trained fire marshals within the school? In terms of what we saw and what we've gathered thus far, were such things ever taught to the students or even to the school fraternity?
So, as safety champions and as Kenya Red Cross and how we look at things, primarily would be the most common route or what psychologically you're familiar with.
Yeah.
With or without doing a drill, there is the space you get into a space and you get out, the same exit.
Yeah.
So half of the time, the body is conditioned towards that.
Yes.
And what you usually talk about is, even in workshops, wherever you land in a new space, just familiarize yourself with, apart from how you got in, is any other way out. And I mean, part of the survivors, and this, the girls who are right now admitted, they were able to jump through the windows and they broke their legs. Unfortunately, one of them passed on. But again, the talk around what we're observing right now is how then to institute the ability to train more students on safety and how to escape in the sad case like what we saw, an accident occurring. Again, all building codes, all safety agendas focus on the person, on the human being safe, being comfortable, being able to move around. The talk around, do we practice, do we think around who and how to get out, is not something that we need to institute.
I mean, when you look at the CCTV camera of that dormitory, we could see some of the blockades that were on the path in case anyone wanted to run away, and that was the beds that were on that pathway, you know. And when you talk about safety, any access point, any access route needs to be clear at any given point to just help with the same as well. Having seen that, then, what would be moving forward in terms of standards, in terms of quality assurance that needs to be put in place? Because unfortunately, we learn from such incidents for us to improve in the future.
I like when you say learn, Dennis, because we're taking it all as a lesson and a burden, and we can only get better from this lesson. Number one is, yes, moving forward, institution of CCTVs, whereas this is also private space, is needful. And it has shown us in a decent way that really we can get to the crux of the matter whenever investigations have to be done. Again, psychologically, it will deter others from doing the same. So long as the CCTV is now instituted in dormitories and things like smoke detectors, CCTVs in a big way deter more than they actually would be used just for investigations. The moment someone knows they're under watch, they would conduct themselves in a different way. So going by that, I would say, yes, this is a good way forward, even for the institutions that don't have CCTVs, number one. Number two, including smoke detectors in dormitories. Smoke detectors are a cheap gadget. I think if government or institutions, even before it becomes policy or law, could institute having smoke detectors, then we are in a big way reducing the risk. Meaning that, for instance, if psychologically these girls wanted just to create fear and tension and everyone disperses, then they would use like a smoke detector, just have it blaring and going off, but not necessarily lighting a fire. I don't want to say this is a way forward, but all I'm saying is it's a lesser risk. Can we reduce the risk by knowing if smoke is detected, people are able to be alerted and get off safely even before it becomes like a huge fire.
What about lockable doors? Because there's a whole... and I don't know, where there's an emergency exit, is that door not a push door that doesn't necessarily have a lock? That is something that you can push and that can swing in both directions. Is that one of the things that needs to happen in a space like this?
Yes, safety doors are always lockable and push on the outside. Meaning...
Push on the outside. So that means when I'm inside, it comes in.
No, it goes out.
It goes out, okay.
Yeah. It goes out such that if someone is coming from outside, it's locked and they cannot access you.
Okay.
So you're secure inside the building, but no sooner you want to get out, it's
but what
just
about fire?
Pushing of a bar and you come out.
But what about fire? In this case, you want to get out. If an emergency door is stopping people from coming in, what if you're inside and there's fire and what you're trying to do is get out?
The objective and the safety code around this is the door needs to secure the person who is inside. So ordinarily, it's not given that everyday fires are occurring.
Yeah.
So you just want to be inside the house and you're safe. But when you need to get out, you are the one in control and you don't need to look for a lock and key to unlock. You just want press of a bar and you're out. So that's how it plays out.
So what should happen? Because now let's talk about schools, whereby there's a safety code and their standards. What should happen? What should these doors, especially in dorms or spaces where there are a lot of people, where there could be a fire? Because, I mean, it's sad to say that we want to label it, but we're looking at the period where after Wednesday, there've been 4 more fires in schools. Some of them have been contained. We haven't seen more injury, but 4 more fires have happened. Now, what are we saying in terms of, because something has got to give at this point, whereby we say, for whatever reason, these fires are being set, whether they're justified, and in some cases where there's death, it can't be justified. But they're happening. And so if people have to get out, I'm still stuck on that we're in a room, and the safety standard says that a door should be lockable from the outside. But there are girls in a room that are trying to get out because there's fire and it's lockable only from the outside. What should the safety standard say as concerns an exit in the event of fire?
Look, let's get the agenda around the lockable locking mechanism. This is not a lock, one of those locks where if someone comes from the outside, they would have a key and unlock to get in. It's just a bar that operates from the standpoint of being pushed out. Now, when you look at it from that standpoint and you look at the CCTV video, all the girls were running out. So it's easy to focus on the person right at the center of the incident as opposed to the second party, the third party who are coming to rescue you.
Okay.
And you should be able to move out even before rescuers come in. So the ability just to leave the space. So with that being said, I would want to even push, even if we don't have these self-locking doors that can unlock from the inside, doors should not just be locked in the first place at night. Look at it this way. One door was not locked, the other one was.
Okay.
It should just not be locked, because in any case, if anyone wanted to exit, they would exit from the other side. So why lock? After students exit and go for classes, then there could be someone who is governed with that locking and coming to unlock during the day. But ordinarily at night, they should just be left open.
Okay.
I want to look at when you look at construction of these dormitories, right? There is an architect who comes in, and let's say all the stakeholders, engineers, the structural engineers, and everyone who's in there. But here we're talking about a dormitory that has students in them. There is a code that is prescribed by the ministry, and with this then have safety champions like you been involved in looking at this code and seeing whether it is sufficient enough. Because what we're seeing is the code that is there, is it good? Is it enough for us to say we are dealing with, or we are trying to prevent risks in the future? Or is there a need for review?
So again, I'll go back to building safety codes, and it's not even for safety champions of any case. All building codes are primarily about the person being safe.
Okay.
And how to utilize the space comes after. That's why we want to say a building has to be structurally sound for you to occupy it.
Yeah.
Just that. And why is it about occupying? Because it's the user. But beyond that, every other code is all about safety through and through. And it's an architectural agenda, and that's where it comes to Ministry of Works and approvals and all that. It's the safety champions. We are the tail end of looking at, whereas all this is in place, accidents are bound to happen. And if they do happen, what can we do to safeguard ourselves, to reduce our risk, and of course, extend the survival rate? Yeah.
Are we done where we sit today, and having seen what happened in Utumishi? And, you have to read this together with other incidences that have happened in the country, like we've said, unfortunately, this is that season where we're seeing a lot of schools going up in flames, Have we done enough for us to say, or for us to confirm to parents out there that our schools are safe?
I would say yes. And I come from numbers.
Yeah.
What is the probability of numbers in terms of how many schools exist in the country vis-a-vis the number of incidents? And you'd want to match up that with, again, just the number of vehicles vis-a-vis number of accidents occurring and the likes. But bring it back to the rules and regulations that govern agendas, and look at the psychological bit where it will get someone to light a fire in a space where others are occupied. So we really have to step back and look at the real cause of all this, as opposed to how we're looking at symptoms right now.
I think that's exactly where I wanted us to get to, because here we are looking at building code, we're looking at the doors need to look this way, we need spirals on the other end. But remember, there is a push behind why, unfortunately, those students lit up that fire. And most of the time is you hear, when you are in school, you're there to be seen, not to be heard. We're talking about individuals whose opinions, they have opinions, their opinions have not been taken in. Then how important is it for us to have an education system that listens, an education system that takes a student as well as an important stakeholder in that space?
So, Dennis, this has happened.
Yes.
If, as Kenya read was, our bit would be a very neutral standpoint, to the point of how can we help the survivors, how can we help the ones who are healing out of this grief and the likes. As much as there is that big obligation and responsibility by all, and this is a society agenda in how we get our people to air out whatever they're going through, then that could be a very different conversation, and a big one for that matter. We could explore some spaces. We're in the age of social media. Are there media spaces that allow people to vent and for communication to come back to school, as opposed to every day going on strike or mandamano. Are there venues that can have this explode? Currently, within Kenya Red Cross, we have the 1199, and we receive all manner of calls. And I'll tell you for free, over 50% of the calls we receive right now, since we opened the line, over 60,000 calls have been handled. And 50% of these calls are mental health related. And that's why we also have an online counseling service where you call this line, you not only get to report, but also if you need psychological support, it can be offered online. And if you need to scale up, then the clinicians, the people handling this call, would now refer or follow up. Can we institute similar fashions of open, free to call lines where students know they can be airing their grievances and they'll reach the authorities? How it feedbacks to them and how we keep it safe for all who are reporting, that could be a coding agenda.
Some of the things in the safety standards for Kenyan boarding schools is interesting because, unfortunately, it is when these disasters occur that we realize that the standards are not met, but yet they are in operation. Dormitories should have multiple exits. Multiple, in this case, is more than 2. And doors that open outward. Windows should not have grills that could trap learners during emergencies, such as fire. Emergency exits must be clearly marked and easily accessible. Beds should be spaced at least 1.2 meters apart, with corridors at least 2 meters wide to allow evacuation. Now, this is interesting because fire safety is also mentioned in these standards. Functional fire extinguishers, fire alarms, and other firefighting equipment must, not should, must be available. Students should conduct regular fire drills and disaster preparedness exercises. Staff and learners should be trained on emergency response procedures. Now, unfortunately, what we've seen is that a lot of these things that the standards require are not being met. There are even places we know in schools today where learners are sleeping that they should not be because of space and because of, okay, well, we can admit as many as we can. But they're sleeping in spaces which are, according to these safety standards, not safe. What should we do? Because the safety standards were established after a committee came together, and I know we're not going to go political, but a committee came together not once, not twice, not 3 times, Anthony, not 4 times. 5 times committees have been instituted and sat, and the safety standards have been mirrored every time. But unfortunately, unfollowed. So if we're in a place whereby we're saying that certain things can be mitigated if the standards are kept, what is the problem? Because truth be told, in other jurisdictions where the Red Cross operates, people keep the standards. We say this is what it's supposed to be, it's kept. There's no question. Should there be a fire extinguisher at every other so meters? Yes. Do we go and we see that there's one? Yes. Should it be that people have regular training drills? Yes. Should we ask a child if they wake up from sleep and say, what do you do in the event of a fire? They can tell you, well, we're supposed to go to this point. They know. But can we do that and establish this now? No. Unfortunately, we're having horror stories now of particular girls who were trying to go get other girls out of spaces, and then she ended up dying as well from this. So there are standards. And that whether we want to look at the cause, whether we want to look at who lit the fire, we're saying in the event, like you said, the fire is here. Now, if there are certain things in place, then perhaps we would have then been able to mitigate. So what do we do, since it's very clear that over the last 20, I don't know how many years, we're unable to entrench these standards? And I say unable because surely we should have.
Because we wrote them for ourselves.
And the committees have sat with experts over and over again, but it seems like it cannot be done.
So part of collective responsibility, and this is an opinion to parents being one of them, is it's high time we also take matters into our own hands and demand. When I say demand is, by the time you're registering a child to a particular school, it could just be as easy as asking for video evidence of drills that have been conducted in the past 1 year, maybe last 6 months, however the routine would be or called for. So what that will set is a system where students and schools, again, as you read it out, must do this. If they're not doing, then there is intentionality behind it, where not only did we do them, we did record. And whenever we're having these parents' association meetings or board meetings, then our board is able to review how we did this. So as a routine and going forward, this needs to come out as a practice, and evidently so through recordings. That way, over and over, we'll appreciate that this we've been doing and we are familiar with them. Goes in line with what we're trying to do as a localization agenda for Kenya Red Cross is train school-going children first aid for free en masse. Because they're young, they'll understand the skills, and as they grow up, they'll be pretty familiar with, I learned this growing up, and it's inculcated in them. You've heard of the parent who was talking about the sad incident you've mentioned. The girl tried to go back. She used to be in a Red Cross club, and she used to train people through and through. It's unfortunate that this particular time she also went over and above to try and rescue. Unfortunately, she paid the price. But again, if we can teach at that young age, and if we can do routine drills, which are recorded, then it starts to set a precedence where we know we're doing a drill, how comes it's not being recorded? Even the students will question. Yeah.
Anthony, what we're doing right now is we are reacting to an incident that happened.
Yes.
Yet, all we need to do is to perhaps move with the intention of preventing these from happening. And that is now everything that we're discussing here that needs to be put into place. From lessons that you've learned now, and saying that never again, what must we all do right now moving forward, whether you're a parent, you're a teacher, students, and the government, to say, we are finally putting our boots down to stop this from ever happening again? What must we see happening? What must we do?
I'll take it three parts. One, provide avenues for grievances. Provide avenues for people to just let out. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening. And for whatever reasons, as I said, 50% of the callers are mental health related. Can we get a space where mental health is being handled in a bigger realm of things? Secondly, can we be proactive to say, whereas all these standards are put in place or need to be put in place, it's me, the user, who's going to be affected. As such, I need to practice for the worst case scenario. I need to be alert to one day it will happen. As a disaster manager, we learn, we train, we keep on practicing, but pray not to use our skills. Because it will always be a hard time. It will always be a rough one. No one wants just to be a rescuer. No one wants to be a hero. We have to do it because it's a calling.
Yeah.
Last but not least is continuous review. We unfortunately don't even look at maintenance of our systems and the likes. But in that reviewing, this then would come up. How regularly are these fire extinguishers checked? How regularly are we conforming to the spaces? Is it a role to be taken by a prefect who can be a fire marshal to confirm there's always space? We see the routines airlines do. It's not to say the planes won't go down, but the safety routines around every takeoff are instituted and are a must. So if things are a must, why not bring them down to our local levels where we're saying, we're going to the dormitory, part of orientation into this dorm is, these are the exits, this is what you do during fire, whenever you're running out, don't collect belongings. All that, we can become a part of routines if rules are put in place and we abide by them.
Why would it, because when we look at safety, the institutions who would understand that this is what needs to be done, that there's a set that you must follow. and it sounds like almost an unfair question, Anthony, but why would it take that people die in such a grotesque manner for then anybody to realize, okay, hang on, perhaps we should actually institute this thing and make sure that we are safe so that we can either reduce the severity of the calamity or avoid death completely? Why would it take something like that for, I mean, in the safety circles, do you find that it's when something so calamitous happens that we realize, hey, okay, perhaps I should take it seriously? And that's kind of like what insurance does. You buy the thing and you keep it just in case. And until it happens is when you realize that, okay, this makes sense. But putting a fire extinguisher and you think, okay, this thing's been there for 12 months and nobody's used it. Okay, we put sprinklers, internal sprinklers in the thing and it's been expensive feat and it doesn't really work. Okay, we have smoke detectors, but we've not had a fire in, I don't know how long. But in the event that there is a fire, you will pray to God that you had some of these things, I mean, we're yet to see if Utumishi had a fire extinguisher in the hallway. I mean, for crying out loud, there were beds in the corridor, So we don't know whether those things existed. But why is it that from your circles that it's in the event of a disaster that we then say, oh, wait, I must make sure that I have a fire extinguisher, all of these other safety measures?
Remember, we had a code.
Yeah, or remember, oh, snap, there was a code,
So, respectively, so we draw from lessons. Things have to happen that we pick on lessons. Let me ask, for instance, right now, you mentioned sprinkler. Where can you cite you've seen a sprinkler? And you can go check it out. Where have you seen a sprinkler in the last number of years?
Well,
Okay.
I don't know if I can mention the name of the office of force because of branding things, but there are actually a couple in the Nairobi city that actually do have sprinklers in case of.
Yeah. But over time, again.
But in any schools, no.
Reduced of that. In schools, we've never seen such. Number one. Number two, even right now in the codes, in the escape fire safety write-ups that we have, if you look at the ones even in this building, they wouldn't have the spacing. They wouldn't tell us how much spacing needs to be in a particular space, but they'll tell you the assembly point is at a particular place.
No, they tell you in schools. They say schools should not be less than 1.2 meters away from each other. Beds, for example. Corridors must be 2 meters in width.
I was asking about the example in this building. The safety procedure for fire, whatever chart we have, does it show spacing?
It doesn't show. All right.
Now we are learning, unfortunately, from this incident, that it's very important that we include spacing as an agenda.
Sure.
I look at malls and I know the architects have done a good job at spacing out.
Okay.
But the next thing you know is in all these spaces, small little kiosks are
coming up
inbuilt in the malls.
Yeah.
And these are escape routes.
Okay.
And I wonder, why would we allow so much space to be taken away, whereas there's so many people who can exit and all come to this space?
Because we want to make money.
So, thank you. The idea about spacing now is going to be a big agenda moving forward. Okay. As he said, as Dennis mentioned, if you look into the future, what are these practices that you're going to be enforcing? Now, it won't be just about have a fire extinguisher and have ability to exit, have ability to have a safe zone.
Yeah.
Okay? No, it will be about what is the spacing that will require. Is it time that we add a line to the charts that showcases spacing so that when a new manager shows up and they feel like, oh, we need 2 more desks here to accommodate the new staff, and you can say, no, this is space left intentionally for fire escape as for comfort in the use of the space. So again, sadly, we learn through incidences and disasters, and whenever we take lessons, the big question would go to what are we going to do with these kind of lessons?
Yeah.
If we cannot take them up, institute, and start to utilize them for our learning to safeguard the future, then that would be wrong.
And I think moving forward as well, then you correct me, that this conversation cannot just be left in institutions, that this has to be a societal, it has to be a communal issue, so that at any given point when you speak to someone about, say, 55 million Kenyans, 1 in, say, 4 Kenyans, you have at least 2 who have been trained in matters first aid. In case there is a fire, people know what to do, because at that incident that happened, we be only being told of one girl that you've now confirmed had been trained by the Red Cross. If we had 6, 7, we'd see a pool of individuals who know what to do when this happens. So do you reckon then that as much as we're putting code into place, these are conversations that need to be pushed to be had on our dining tables in our places of worship at any given point where we can have this conversation?
Yes. Similar to just how you'd handle litter. It needs to come down to a societal agenda where if I'm passing through a path and I come across litter, I can pick it and dump it. The same way you'd come to spaces and notice this is blocking the way, I need to move it away. It should be so routine that it becomes entrenched in us that I always need clear spaces. We always need to have this in place. And passing through a fire extinguisher, when is the last time you checked the expiry date of a fire extinguisher? Yeah. It's just about servicing. And in any case, if you see that it's expired, who do you report to? So making it an individual and everyone responsibility is a good way forward, so that as we carry out life and do life, we're just alert to these safety issues.
How fire, I'm still going to stick on fire because that seems to be the thing. And then even as of this morning, we've seen another national school is being closed because there's unrest, and people are saying, okay, well, this unrest could lead to something, and then we need to then essentially deal with a situation where we don't want to deal with it. So it's still happening. And it's interesting because the second term of the school year is the year where we have seen more fires in the last 30 years than ever before. It doesn't happen in first term, doesn't happen in third term. It's in this very long term of the school year that these rumblings start. Now, when you say moving forward and certain things that need to happen, is it time that then these voices, the ones who are crying today, the ones who are saying we're going to have to deal with this loss, these voices mirrored across board are the ones then who are going to have to insist that some of these things are happening? Because we can talk about safety, we can talk about the brick and mortar, we can also talk about safety when it talks about dealing with issues that people are bringing up. There are issues that come up. People are not just saying, unfortunate, and we don't, okay, I can't say that because I don't know, that if people are just standing up and saying, oh, well, it'll be fun to light up the dormitory today, that something has started to rumble. These task forces have told us that there is a link between rumblings that have happened and the events that have happened thereafter, that there's a link between them. But that aside, is it time for people to say, we insist, for example, to see what a dormitory looks like? Because we're talking about safety. We know that in many schools today, even where my children are, that you're not allowed to go and see what the dormitory looks like, because the likelihood of it, of you laying claim to a certain demand then is higher. Is it time that people were involved in saying, can we see, number one? Number two, can we insist that did we know that according to this standard code, that there should be an adult, a staff that either resides near or in the dormitory, according to the safety standards, that there must be a security guard outside the dormitory, not the one at the gate, that there should be outside. So if you have a dormitory that has many people, there must be somebody outside. So in the case of this, somebody can even help to open the door. So should there be now a consensus where people who are vested as stakeholders now say, Nana, we're not going to leave this safety thing up to you because it's clear that you're unable to? Must other voices rise up now?
Yeah, as I said, and the easiest, the biggest would be beneficiary and person who can demand this is a parent. It's a person paying for that service. It's unfortunate there could be spaces where people are not allowed to see the dormitories, but if you're paying for a service, I better see what I'm paying for, number one. Number two, as I said, if we're going to do drills and practices or training for our students, then we should be proud to showcase them to will be potential parents as part of advertising or as part of orientation. But better still, it will be so ingrained in us that when you're at home, the children will be asking, Daddy, how is our escape route? procedure. What should we do in case of a fire? Because they know we did this in school, but we've not done it at home.
Yeah.
Then these conversations become a daily thing, as Dennis was putting out whenever we're in dining spaces. Then it's conversations that are ongoing, as opposed to when it happens.
You know, there is the aspect where it has been saying that the need for mental health conversations to be had is very critical, very, very critical. But then again, there is also, I think, the responsibility of the entire community or society, because information or reports you're getting is that there was procurement of flammable materials. Paraffin has been mentioned. We're not sure about that. But that it behoves upon every other person out there, because one would see this is a child. Why are they purchasing paraffin? So it is not only a conversation that we'll say it is only schools to have, that you take care of your business. We will install CCTV cameras. But do we even have anyone who's manning the CCTV cameras at the time? Because if there was someone manning the CCTV cameras as a security matter, then we'd be able to see what exactly is happening, perhaps act as well. So we will put all these things in there. But if we do not have other processes at the back to just ensure that they are working optimally, we're not really doing much. So here is a question of, anyone comes to buy kerosene, paraffin, diesel, petrol, perhaps request for an ID, know exactly what this individual is going to use, I don't know, just making sure that it's difficult for anyone to purchase these things moving forward. Because if it's a child, you're selling to a child, I think you shouldn't sell to a child to start with.
Well, Dennis, I'll bring you back to reality. If you go out there and see the queues, everyday life, people buying paraffin, a good majority is children. Children are sent for paraffin for home use. That is normal. And shouldn't even be a big worry. And I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Petrol is in a big way controlled, and that's why even plastic are not allowed. But coming back to what we talked about earlier, how as a society we institutionalize some matters, safety, to the point where that should not be fathomable.
Yeah.
You should not imagine a child setting fire on another person. Where is this coming from? So for me, I'll go big on safety. I know it's not part of our culture in terms of how big we go on safety. First of all, just general skills, generally to everyone. How much of coverage do we have with people with, say, first aid skills? Second of all is how much are people willing to help others? You see accidents are along the way, but we slow down, peep, and move on. Why is it that people don't care much to come out and help? Again, what are you helping with if you don't have the skill? So we'll want to address the skill agenda by doing a mass training to schools and different institutions, and then come to now the responsibility that is inherent. Whenever you have a skill, there's that responsibility that comes with the need to utilize or just assist because you know what you're doing. If you don't know, you wouldn't care much and we wouldn't judge you. Again, goes back to the Good Samaritan law, where you cannot question anyone who didn't help because they were not able, they didn't want to risk themselves, they're not required to help. But for me, that's big. Safety skills, learn safety skills, and also how we practice them.
Yeah. Eric Nganga asks an interesting question, because we know that a lot of the things that we learn or that we have later on is as a result of what we learned when we were impressionable as children in curriculum.
Yes.
So should things like safety, things like these drills be put in the curriculum so that you grow up learning and understanding them? Because think about it, a fire drill is it happens for even young children, but something that's drilled in you the same way you learn 1, 2, 3 ABC. If you grow up learning it, the likelihood of it staying with you, not sticking, staying with you, is greater.
Yes. We have, even first aid is being taught in CBC, but what is the depth of the content and how much practice is there to this? If we can put it as part of co-curricular, see the same way you finish class and people go for
ECAs and all this,
all this extracurricular stuff. Again, it should be a part of it where people are just training continuously on first aid, or continuously on firefighting or safety around fire. And these drills, I'm repeating, they should be ingrained as a way of just orientation. You're joining a school, part of orientation is safety drills around escaping, whether be it fire, whether be it another alert. I mean, different hazards. There could be a wild animal which has come into the school.
Yes.
What is the safety precautions around it and what are the steps? So this should be part of orientations.
Indeed.
I mean, I think as well, insistence on, you've said that parents out there should be able to insist to see the service that they're paying for. That calls, therefore, for parents not to just say, nimepeleka mtoto kusoma, anasoma wapi, anatumia facilities gani, should be the next questions that parents ask. So therefore, this is not just a conversation for government, the ministry, or the students or teachers, that parents as well must plug into this to be part and parcel of the cog.
Yeah, even ranking, I'm starting to think social media, and I'm thinking the same way we rate places, review places with stars, why not have a rating around schools which can pride themselves, like since school began, we've never had a fire incident.
There you go.
We have a 5-star. Safety standards now rating of schools. So by the time you're looking out for a school, you can quickly cross-check what is their safety rating before I even think of taking my students there.
Yeah.
So we're all thinking towards future and what lessons we can pick from this. And for us, that's a big agenda. This is a space we're going to sit back as Red Cross and review continuously and look, yes, we've been doing first aid trainings. What more can we bring into the space? We just saw a small video trending around a drowning incident. What more can we bring into that space also for schools that both have swimming pools or not? What more can we bring into, as I said, a wild animal attack or a wild animal spotted?
Yeah, stuff like that. For sure. And this is one to watch, of course. And this is one we're not going to let go because too many deaths. One death is too many in an incident like this. Anthony Mushiri is a Kenya Manager, Disaster Response and Preparedness for the Kenya Red Cross. Thank you for being here with us this morning. And looking forward to more. Asante Sana, everybody coming back into the Situation Room this Tuesday. We'll talk again tomorrow, God willing. Good morning, 10 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.